Welcome to Mega World, South Korea. This nation is a world leader in technology. Whether it's building cars, producing cell phones, or shipbuilding, in fact, chances are pretty good the TV you're watching this show on was made here. Coming up on Mega World, South Korea, LG Electronics, where life is good and unbelievably thin. LG is in a gloves-off fight to win the top spot worldwide in flat-screen television technology. Imagine building a city the size of Boston from the ground up and doing it in just 15 years.
So now you might say we have a city in a box.
Well, that's what they're doing just a short drive from Seoul. When complete, they'll call it Songdo City. And talk about going big. Button up your flame-resistant suit. We've got a front row seat for one of the largest forging presses anywhere. Up first on our mega tour of South Korea, we head out to sea. In a country known for tiny technology, they know a thing or two about building big. Really big. No one builds more megaships than South Korea. In its best year, this country built more ships than the rest of the world combined. They pump up the volume by employing some of the most innovative and efficient construction techniques anywhere.
삼성중공업에 오신 것을 대단히 환영합니다.
SHI stands for Samsung Heavy Industries, and this 33 million square meter complex can produce an astonishing 70 ships a year in 8 different models. Everything from passenger ferries to container ships to drilling vessels.
이렇게 강국이 된 것은
Since 2002, Korea has been the leading country in shipbuilding.
Traditionally, ships are built from hundreds of pre-assembled pieces called blocks. These blocks are then craned to the water's edge and welded together. In 2001, Samsung changed the game. It decided to build a ship using just 10 mega blocks, giant Lego-like pieces that were 6 times larger than anything built before. There was just one problem. They didn't have a crane big enough to lift these mega blocks, so they built one. Today, the floating crane has to lift this mega block across the bay to become part of a container ship, provided the weather cooperates.
지금 보시는 게 지금 메가블럭인데
What you're looking at here is a mega block that will be used as part of an ultra-large container ship. With 10 blocks like that, we can build one vessel. The 3,600-ton floating crane needs to lift up that mega block, but it's really windy, so the work here has just been canceled.
When the weather clears, the mega block will be assembled on one of Samsung's 4 offshore floating docks. Another innovation that reduces the building time of the ship in half.
선박을 건조하는 방법은
In order to make a vessel, we assemble the mega blocks here on the dock and then submerge the floating dock under the water, about 7 meters deep, to launch the ship.
해상 크레인과 플로팅 도커가 서로
Those two innovative
접목이
moves, the floating dock and the floating crane, are the backbone of what we call the mega block revolution.
Of course, even a revolution can be held up by weather. A second day of high winds is pushing deadlines and budgets, but that doesn't stop new mega blocks from coming online.
강제가 입고되면
First, when the steel is shipped in, we need to cut it and bend it.
하고 밴딩하고
Magnetic cranes transport these 2.5-ton sheets of steel to a plasma cutting robot. Then, a 2,000-ton press forms it into various shapes. Some workers heat the steel to make it more pliable.
이렇게 된 강판을
The welding process is applied to the steel pieces to make them into smaller blocks, and then bigger blocks.
Samsung also uses robotic welding machines that are 3 times faster than humans and are accurate to 0.01 millimeters. Once the pieces become too big for the factory, they are painted and then transported to the docks on 20-wheeled vehicles. Then a crane lifts them into position to become a mega block.
지금까지
So far, we've delivered 720 vessels to our clients.
Today, Samsung has 50 different ships on the go.
해외의 어떤 조선소들은 단일 선종만 건조하는
While some overseas shipbuilders make only one simple type of ship, we build various kinds of high-tech and high-value vessels. I think that's what separates us from the others.
After 2 days lost to wind delays, the workers are eager to get this 2,500-ton mega block across the bay and into its floating dock. But its massive surface area could act as a wind sail, so nothing is left to chance.
바람이 10m/s 불게 되면 이상 불게 되면
If the wind blows 10 meters a second or more, we can't keep the cranes afloat. For 2 days, the winds reached up to 18 meters a second. But today, we can do the work.
With a wave of an arm, the humongous bulk of metal gently rises and heads out to sea. In less than 30 minutes, these 4,000-plus horsepower tugs push the crane and the mega block safely to the floating dock. Now that other companies are following Samsung's mega methods, the company has already begun to dream bigger. They want to build tera blocks, blocks that are 4 times bigger than this mega block.
그렇게 되면 10만 톤 유조선의 경우에는 테라블록 2개.
We could build an oil tanker with just 2 tera blocks.
Of course, they'll need a bigger crane. Rest assured, an 8,000-ton floating crane, more than twice the capacity of this one, is already under construction. And that means plenty of work to come for the 30,000 employees of Samsung Heavy Industries. A short drive from Seoul is where you'll find our next stop on the Mega World Tour. Korea is a world leader in flat screen production, and they didn't get there by sharing their secrets. You're about to go where no foreign camera has ever gone before. Into the ultra-secretive R&D labs for LG Electronics.
안녕하십니까. LG전지에 오신 것을 환영합니다. 신분증 주시겠습니까?
Beyond the gates, they're working on TV screens thinner than your baby finger.
핸드폰 확인 좀 해드리겠습니다.
It's all top secret. Visitors and employees must surrender their cell phones, and camera lenses are blacked out. In fact, the LG showroom can only be accessed with eye-scanning technology. Maybe its corporate motto of "Life is good" should be changed to "Life is guarded."
Thank you. You have been identified.
저희들은 그 글로벌로
In this Pyeongtaek Research Institute, we conduct research and development activities on new technologies to create innovative products that will separate us from others. So security matters most.
기회를 가진 것
So I think I should say congratulations to you.
축하를 드려요.
It's no wonder they want to protect their trade secrets.
뒷면 촬영 곤란합니다.
From LCD to LED to the latest 3D, television technology is moving at warp speed.
이 모델은 2006년도 모델.
This one is the 2006 model, and that's the 2010 model. The big boards on the 2006 model have integrated into this small board of 2010 here. And also, as you can see, the big speaker system from 2006 has gone through a major size change. As TVs get thinner every year, the speaker has become smaller too.
Thin TV, big picture. That's where nanotechnology comes in. It's the science of really small things, and it's what went into producing this 72-inch full LED 3D TV, the world's largest.
그 나노 텔레비전은 저희들이
Nano lighting technology uses the thin film of minuscule nanodots positioned in front of a full array of LEDs that disperses LED light more evenly and effectively around the screen.
아주 찰기 디바이스.
This technology allows the TV to produce brighter, clearer, smoother pictures than ever before.
And talk about skinny. This Nano 3D TV is only 8.8 millimeters thin. Your smartphone is fatter than that. LG can make them slimmer, but apparently the consumer doesn't want a wafer-thin TV.
저희들이 고객 조사를 해보니까 9mm 정도가 가장.
It turns out the ideal depth for TV is 9 millimeters, and if that number goes down, customers feel that it is not stable to use. So we've decided to produce 8.8 millimeter TVs based on customer feedback.
LG has advanced technologies to ensure the quality and durability of its product. This space-age sound room listens for high-frequency noise, the sounds your ears can't pick up. This optical test makes sure that the brightness and color temperature is consistent across the screen. Televisions are even subjected to extreme temperatures, both hot and cold.
Different settings can be applied to this room, such as high-low temperatures and various climate changes.
But they're not through yet. A 1-hour vibration test mimics a bumpy delivery truck. And if a TV screen can stay put, with this weight hanging from it, chances are good it won't budge from your living room wall. And finally, what better way to test the potential damage caused by a clumsy stockroom employee than dropping the TV from various heights? LG estimates it will ship out 35 million LCD televisions this year alone. It expects that number to grow to 50 million in the next 2 years. We're just getting started on Mega World South Korea. When we return, turning up the heat to make some of the world's largest steel components. Welcome back to Mega World South Korea. Time to limber up, because it's time for some heavy lifting. This is a country making a name for itself with nanotechnology. The smaller, the better. But as we head southeast, just outside Changwon, the focus shifts to building components as large as possible. If you're planning to build a nuclear power plant, this is where it all starts. Doosan Heavy Industries specializes in heavy metal. Really heavy metal. When it comes to building reactors and supersized components, no one does it better than Doosan. Its plant in Changwon is as massive as the parts it churns out. These 10 factories comprise 44 million square meters. That's about 175 Empire State Buildings in workspace. Every nuclear reactor starts out the same way, as molten metal.
That's our nuclear equipment project, BNBP. We are producing 119 tons of alloy here.
Heat-resistant clothing is an absolute must on the floor.
The temperature inside is around 1700 degrees Celsius.
That's twice as hot as lava, 6 times what your microwave oven can generate. The molten material is poured into this giant cup to form an ingot that can be shaped into various forms. There's no room for error as the liquid metal passes over workers below. It's a delicate balancing act for the driver of this 250-ton crane. One wrong move could be disastrous.
The big hook can handle up to 250 tons, but we don't use it to lift over 230 tons for safety reasons.
Some of the molten metal is poured into smaller castings where chemicals are added to reduce temperatures and allow the material to set. Larger pieces go to this giant furnace where they're molded into various sizes and shapes. These ingots, about the size of a large van and 250 times the weight, are about to visit the star of the show at Doosan, a steel chewing machine taller than a 7-story building.
The forging press is 23 meters high and can exert 13,000 tons of pressure. It can handle a 530-ton ingot.
It's one of the world's largest forging presses, and with good reason. The components of a nuclear power plant have to withstand intense temperatures and a huge amount of pressure. By making the parts as large as possible, they can reduce the amount of welds needed, making the finished product that much more stable. Back on the shop floor, these guys get to deal with what the press cannot. A heat-resistant shield is their only protection from the intense heat as they remove any remaining impurities. Once the enormous pieces are formed and allowed to cool, they go to this top-secret factory.
What you are looking at is a nuclear reactor internal part for a power plant in China, and its design temperature is 620 Fahrenheit. Later, nuclear fuel assemblies will be installed inside of it.
It's here where the limited welding takes place, and like everything, it's done under extreme conditions.
이 제품은 원자로의 일부분 파트로서 노 베셀이라고 합니다.
This is a part of a nuclear reactor called a reactor vessel. During the welding procedure, in order to get a better adhesion and minimize defects on the welded joints, we heat the vessel to over 120 degrees.
Pieces like this steam generator are then sent to the clean room for inspection.
이곳에서는 증기발생기 2차 측에
Contaminants in the secondary side of a steam generator can shorten the life of nuclear power plants. So in this room, there is a strict entry-exit control.
Even the massive turbines are made at the Doosan plant. If they're off by the smallest margin, it can have disastrous consequences. So they're subjected to a series of balancing tests. With the price of nuclear reactors starting at over $250 million, nothing is left to chance.
아주 작은 결함에 의해서도 이 로터 포켓이 날아갈 수 있는 그런 위험이.
The smallest defect can create a dangerous situation and threaten the safety of a nuclear power plant.
The acceptable defect rate is about 0.01%, and to increase safety, they want that number even lower.
원자로 같은 경우에는
When it comes to a nuclear reactor, from the beginning of the process to the end, it takes about 40 months to build. For a steam generator, it takes about 42 months.
역시 마찬가지로.
In only 13 years, Doosan has built more than 30 nuclear reactors, and 20 of those were built for Korea, making the country the 5th largest producer of atomic energy. Its success lies in its ability to control all stages of development, from material selection to final design. Clearly, Doosan has the tools to power the future, and the future for Korea looks very bright indeed. Still ahead, golf crazy in Korea. They don't let a lack of green space get in the way of hitting for par, and they'll go to great lengths to keep it real. But next, Instant City in just 15 years, and they'll build it from scratch.
It will be a mega project when completed. It's mega in its works right now. In 2015, this project will be finished. 100 million square feet, literally the size of downtown Boston, planned and built in 15 years.
Welcome back to Mega World South Korea. What if you had a chance to build a brand new New York City? Or London? What would you do different? Now, what if you had to build it on the sea? Well, that's exactly what they're doing up here on the West Coast, and they only have 15 years to do it. Welcome to Songdo, the most expensive private real estate development on Earth. A $40 billion city that will be built in just 15 years. The man in charge of bringing Songdo to life is Stan Gale.
These are some of the images we would bring with us. The story of Songdo is a story of Korean ingenuity and the desire for Korea to grow as a country when there's no more land left.
And he's not exaggerating about the lack of land. Most cities grow from towns, not Songdo. This so-called city of the future will rise from the sea. They needed a footprint about the size of downtown Boston. Overlooking the site now from his penthouse apartment, the chief architect makes it sound almost easy.
There are 7,329 different steps that have to occur from planning to construction that we have broken down scientifically and cataloged. So now you might say we have a city in a box, just add water, and there they grow.
Actually, you first need to add dirt, a lot of dirt. They needed about 600 hectares. But where do you find that much land? Engineers like Dong-il Park had to go out and find it.
지금 현재 그 공사 과정은
The current construction involves building a long tide embankment so that we can landfill the area using the dredged material from the mainland.
그래서 전체 거리는
To complete the project, an army of workers has been tasked with transporting 15 million cubic meters of soil from the mainland. The rest is coming directly from the Yellow Sea, and they'll have some mega help.
The dredging vessel here has 12,000 horsepower, and it's capable of dredging 1,200 cubic meters per hour. That's equal to using 120 dump trucks.
The soil then travels some 5 kilometers through these discharge pipes.
배석안에서 약 한 87%는
From the discharge pipe, we get around 87% water and 13% dredging material. So the total amount of dredging would be around 43 million cubic meters. Currently, we have around 12 million cubic meters left to fill.
43 million cubic meters of soil could fill over 17,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools. And then there's the challenge of racing against the forces of 7 to 9 meter tides. The workers have to begin early each day to avoid being literally washed away.
2% 메가입니다.
Another issue, landfill is not a stable base for construction. And remember, they're building a 6 million square meter city.
The geology itself is very tricky. You say, oh boy, you've got this beautiful land here, but we don't use any of the land for support. Everything goes down to bedrock. So everything is on stilts into the granite.
That includes this 68-story skyscraper, Korea's tallest building. The great thing about building a city from scratch is that you can pre-wire it with all the fiber optics you want. Such infrastructure makes Songdo the first fully networked city with all the latest high-tech gadgets.
I can, for example, look at the temperature levels in every other room. I can, for example, also turn on and turn off lights. If I want to close the blinds in my kitchen, I go to the kitchen, I select the kitchen, and I close the blinds. One of the things you're seeing here is what we call telepresence. This is not just video conferencing, this is telepresence. It's all about trying to get the other person life-size in front of you. How many is that? 2. Of course.
Telepresence can be used for catching up with family overseas or getting a checkup from your doctor. Even garbage collection is high-tech. Residents access trash kiosks with smart cards. The garbage is literally sucked through pneumatic tubes underground to central collection buildings like this one. Inside, 675 horsepower fans keep the garbage moving at an impressive clip.
That makes it capable of covering the area with a 1.2 kilometer radius in a speed of 20 to 30 meters per second.
That's the equivalent of 120 kilometers an hour, or 12 times faster than the average speed of the garbage truck in your neighborhood. 4 collection centers will reduce the need for trucks by a third, and they hope to sell the methane extracted from composting food waste. To make Songdo a truly international city, developers have incorporated the best of the best from other locations, like New York Central Park, the Venice canals, and a convention center that may look familiar to people down under.
That's the direction we're going in. China needs 500 new cities. India needs 300 new cities. And this is being used as the model for mayors all over the world.
Songdo City is a hot ticket in Asia. Even at an average of $500,000 each, residential units are going fast. It's a country that's been at war for more than 60 years. When Mega World South Korea returns, some mega military might. Welcome back to Mega World South Korea. Did you know that South Korea is the most wired nation on the planet? On a daily basis, more people are on the internet than anywhere else in the world. Unfortunately, internet gaming has become an obsession. An estimated 10% of the population are considered addicts, spending an average of 10 hours in front of the computer screen a day. South Korea is obviously a highly industrialized country, but it's also a nation at war. And about 6 hours south of Seoul, you'll find them testing the latest technology used on the battlefield. It weighs 55 tons, has 1,500 horsepower. It's as nimble as an SUV, and it can easily pass anyone in the slow lane. The K2 Black Panther, the most expensive battle tank in the world. $8 million each. The K2 is also one of the most technologically advanced tanks on the planet.
There are 3 major features in contemporary tanks. Those are mobility, firepower, and survivability. The K2 has them all at a superior level.
The Agency for Defense Development spent $230 million in 12 years developing a tank specifically for the rough Korean terrain. It starts with the tracks and a state-of-the-art suspension system. Every bogie wheel can be individually controlled. This allows the K2 to sit, stand, kneel, or lean in any direction. The K2 can climb hills as steep as 60%, and if it has to, it can go underwater, crossing rivers 4 meters deep. And it's quick. 0 to 32 kilometers an hour in 7 seconds with a surprisingly fast top speed of 70 kilometers an hour. Of course, that doesn't mean the K2 has to scamper away from a fight.
여기 보시는 저 위에 것은 아까 좀 전에 설명드렸던 그 레이지 워닝 리시버하고요.
This is one of the 4 laser warning receivers, and the square boxes you see on both sides of the vehicle are active defense radar systems.
When the receiver detects an incoming missile, a gun at the back automatically fires back at it. If enemy fire does get through, the K2 is ready. The crew compartment even has an anti-neutron liner so that everyone can walk away from a neutron bomb explosion. But to prevent being hit in the first place, the K2 can hide using a countermeasure called soft kill. It's a simple yet effective system. The tank fires smoke grenades, effectively making the K2 invisible to a missile's radar and infrared-seeking capabilities.
적외선 차장, 가시광선 차장.
Of course, the K2 can give as good as it gets.
그다음에 좀 앞으로 가 보시면은 여기 이제
What you are looking at here is a 120mm 55 caliber main gun, which can fire a variety of munitions.
120mm 구경 중에서는
We're talking some serious gunpowder here. Tungsten rounds that can penetrate armor and chemical energy rounds that can take down helicopters. And they're delivered fast and furious.
자동 장전기를 채택을 하게 되면 이 속도가 굉장히 빨라집니다.
The new automatic loader requires shorter reloading time by enabling K2 to fire up to 10 rounds per minute.
10발 정도까지도.
That's one round every 6 seconds, and the K2 can even hit a target 9 kilometers away.
그래서 아마 그렇게 되면은 이제 뭐 수출이라는 것도 가능해질 것이라고 판단이 됩니다만.
I believe the K2 is by far the #1 battle tank in the world.
아닌 것 같습니다.
If you could hold a K2 tank in your arms, it would probably look like this.
이 새로운 소총은 K11.
The K11 is one of the most deadly assault rifles in the world.
두 개의 탄종, 즉
Unlike other battle rifles, the K11 operator will have a choice to make between 20mm airburst shells and 5.65mm rounds.
Talk about multitasking. This rifle can fire bullets or grenades, and like its tank cousin, the K11 has a computer controlling how and when the explosive rounds will detonate.
그리고 위에 보이는 큰 조준경 같은 것은
This top-mounted object, which looks like a big sighting system, is called the electronic fire control unit. It functions just like a tank, only in a smaller unit.
설치가 되어 있습니다. 따라서 이 소총은
What if the enemy is behind a wall? No problem. The K11 calculates the distance to the target using a laser rangefinder. Watch in super slow motion how the airburst shells detonate above the balloon targets, spraying fragments in all directions. If the enemy is hiding inside buildings, the airburst ammo can even be programmed to detonate after it penetrates the window.
혁신적으로 변화시킬 수 있는
K11 is an innovative rifle that will change the future of firearms.
Out of necessity, South Korea has become a world leader in defense technology, with the K2 and K11 providing a serious 1-2 punch. Time for a break. When Mega World South Korea returns, bottoms up. The technological, innovative spirit is alive and well in South Korea. But there's another spirit. It comes in a bottle, and it is by far the most popular product in the land. Welcome back to Mega World South Korea. It's no secret they work hard in this country. Work hard, play hard. That's the spirit. Actually, the spirit is soju, and they have a tough time keeping it on the shelves. It's the best-selling brand of alcohol in the world. It's called Jinro Soju.
Wow! Wow!
And 95% of the 1.8 billion bottles sold each year are consumed by Koreans.
각 나라마다 국가를 대표하는 주류가 있는데요.
Mexico has tequila, beer in Canada, whiskey in Scotland. Likewise, Korea's national liqueur is obviously soju. Cheers!
The popularity of this rice-based liquor cannot be overstated. Every year, Koreans consume the equivalent of 35 bottles for every man, woman, and child in the country. And there are good reasons for such thirsty appetites.
It neutralizes the spicy and salty part of the Korean foods, and it also raises a person's appetite. As well, Koreans tend to be a little stiff, so when they're hanging out with friends or the atmosphere is a little depressing, soju can take care of that situation.
Since 1924, Jinro has been the largest producer of soju in the world. This Cheongwan factory is one of 3 plants churning out the product.
우리가 1년에 생산하는 병은 150억
We produce around 1.5 billion bottles per year. Our plant produces 7 million bottles per day.
In fact, one brand of soju sold an astounding 10 billion bottles in just over 7 years. Staggering numbers, but not a drop of alcohol is made in this factory. It's shipped in.
우리 같은 경우에는 이제
Our plant is basically a distillery, and we bring in ethanol from outside sources.
Due to a food shortage in the 1960s, the government limited the amount of rice that could be used for alcohol. To this day, the government still handles ethanol production. Depending on the season, the ethanol can be made from a variety of ingredients like rice, tapioca, or sweet potato. One ingredient hasn't changed in over 20 years. Jinro's unique filtering process depends on bamboo charcoal. But they don't use just any bamboo. This particular bamboo is found in only 2 places in Korea.
그런 연구 개발하는 과정에서 우리 나름대로
We found that a 3-year-old bamboo is the most ideal. As for the charcoal, it was found that it would have the highest purifying effect when burned at 1,000 degrees.
Every step in the process has been perfected. The bamboo is cut into 2-meter-long pieces and then split 8 ways. They're cut again into even smaller pieces that are now just the right size to create what's called activated charcoal. When the meticulously created charcoal is ready, it's dumped into these massive vats. Then water and ethanol are blended together and filtered through the charcoal a total of 4 times. By heating the solution with the charcoal, beneficial nutrients are released and any impurities are left behind. The end result is soju.
그래서 희석조에 첨가하는 거는 이제 가장 기본적인
I really can't say much about any additives involved in dilution because that's our company's secret. What I can only tell you is that we add specific amounts of fructose and organic acid, but that's about it.
Jinro also takes a scientific approach to the final taste test. Researchers try to differentiate between 2 types of soju and enter their findings into a database. With alcohol content ranging between 19 and 25%, you would expect the researchers to spit the samples out. That's what you would expect.
이제 너무 고도죠. 그러니까 위스키나 이런 거는 알코올 도수가 너무
If we were to drink heavy liquor like whiskey and drink a lot, we would have a terrible hangover the next day. In comparison, soju has an adequate alcohol level and it's hangover-free.
Let's up! 참이슬.
While being hangover-free remains debatable, soju looks to stay a fixture on Korean dinner tables.
그런 의미에서 한 잔. 그런 의미에서 한 잔. 좋은 거니까. 이게 또 완전 빨라졌어야 돼.
Up next, if Jinro is popular with Koreans, then hitting a little white ball is off the charts. Welcome back to Mega World. Let's now head out to the capital and the second home for most Koreans, the golf course. Koreans are fanatic about golf.
Golf is a really big deal in Korea, you know?
It's not just a big deal, it's a huge deal. 24 hours a day. And they feed that hunger with state-of-the-art training facilities and the most advanced golf simulator in the world. Pushing golf technology to new limits has already paid off on the world stage. Here at the LPGA Tour stop in Incheon, 4 of the top 10 women golfers in the world are from Korea. Having so little land means it's not cheap to play. A round of golf can routinely cost $400, and memberships as much as $2 million. For the average Korean, the most affordable option is the driving range. How about the world's largest driving range?
스카이 70 골프클럽 안에 있는 드림 레인지는 여기가 드림 레인지입니다.
Sky 72 Golf Club's Dream Range has a total of 500 platforms, 300 of them auto and 200 grass.
The circular design is unique, but you'd have to hit your ball a good 400 yards before you reach the other side.
어마어마한 그런 드림 레인지입니다.
But size isn't everything. Crowded city? No problem. This 5-tiered driving range allows golfers to launch balls over a parking lot. The automatic ball retrieval system and robotic tees are impressive, but they pale in comparison to Korea's latest craze, screen golf.
골프존은 세계에서 가장 재미있는 그런 골프.
Golf Zone is the world's most popular golf experience. Around 20,000 systems are installed around the world, and 500,000 people are playing the game each week.
Golf simulators have been around for years, but Golf Zone simulates the game like never before. Unlike driving ranges that only have a flat surface to hit from, Golf Zone's platform actually tilts to mimic the player's lie. Hidden sensors capture the club head speed and angle in the blink of an eye.
그다음에 샷을 하게 되면 그러면 저기 있는 수평 센서.
Once you make the shot, horizontal and vertical sensors will identify the speed and the direction of your club and the ball. It also tracks the spin on the ball and then applies it so that you can see it flying on the screen. That's the basics of how the system works.
This is the best-selling simulator in the world, a title Golf Zone doesn't take for granted. It's always looking for an edge. For accuracy, it conducts aerial surveys of actual courses, radar scans for changes in altitude, and takes pictures from ground level. Its digital mapping of undulations boasts a margin of error of only 20 centimeters. They even use swing robots to put that math to motion. The only thing simulators can't simulate is drama. But don't worry, that's taken care of. Golf Zone hosts live tournaments with actual cash prizes, and it's competitive. 10,000 golfers began satellite tournaments a month ago, and now there's only 60 left. The competition is fierce, and local television crews bring extra tension to the atmosphere, perhaps to build the drama.
긴장하시죠, 지금? 어떡해요?
But the leader shakes off the nerves to sink this par putt to win the championship. And the green jacket. Yes, a green jacket. New technology, hard work, and a true passion for the game looks like a Korean model for success. It also worked in the real world for LPGA star Na-yeon Choi, who won this year's championship for the second year in a row.
For a baby, all I know, no one will come. She's got